Hey guys, we're here today at 28 Stone Street. I want to bring you up to speed on what's going on. We have completed the foundation process, and I want to take you guys through it because it's very interesting for me learning. So the first thing that we had to do was dig down the foundation. We had to dig down a few feet. I think I found out why they call it Stone Street. There was a ton of shale on the foundation. It was brutal to take up, but we got it done. So once we dug down the foundation, we then set up the footers. We set the rebar up in the footers, and what I didn't know is you have to set up the ground rods for the electric panel, and not only do they have to be set up, but they have to be connected to the rebar in the footers. That's a code you have to pass. That was the first inspection we had to pass, which we did. Then we poured the footers. We brought a pump truck, which is really cool. It's like a concrete trunk, like a huge arm that comes. You have like a hose. You can just pour the concrete wherever you need. So once we got that done, the next step was to set up the concrete forms. And in order to do that, we had to rent forms. I used this company, Doka USA. They had like really nice forms. Definitely not the cheapest, but it worked out really well. We set up the forms. And then inside of the forms, we also had to build like boxes for the windows that are going to be in the basement. We had to put pipes in between for the sleeves, for the water line, for the, if you need a sewer line. We had to do it for a sump pump. We did it for a gas line. Anything that you need to exit through the wall of the foundation, you want to put that in now before you pour the concrete. It's a lot easier to run pipes through versus you have the concrete wall up and now you got to drill. There's rebar in there. It's complicated. So the concrete that we poured on the foundation was 6,000 psi. It's super strong stuff. It may have been a little bit of overkill, but I'd rather build a house too strong than too weak. So now during this part with the concrete forms, you have to put rebar throughout the walls. It almost looked like a steel cage match from WWE. Now some towns will have you inspect the concrete forms, the rebar, and then other towns will just have you inspect the forms. In New Brunswick they had us inspect the forms. We passed that, and then we showed up like in a couple hours again with the same concrete truck, same arm, and we poured everything. So once that was done, we basically had to wait at least a week before we took off the forms and returned them. And then while we were doing that, we had to set up the plumbing for the basement before we poured the slab. So that was a bit of an adventure because we had to dig a trench around the perimeter of the basement for a French drain. We had to set up a trench and dig a trench for the plumbing. I was actually helping a lot with setting up the plumbing. We had to then put gravel down before we could put the bedding down. We had to put the gravel down for the bedding before we put the pipe down. And then on top of that, we had to get a plumbing inspection for that. That passed. And then the last thing was we put, we set up the gravel in the basement, compacted everything. This was after the French drain was already in. Then we put down plastic, we put down wire mesh. We had another slab inspection. We got the green light, and then we poured the slab. So, foundation-wise, we're done, which is great. We're still waiting a little bit to 100% cure, but we feel confident enough to obviously start framing. That's what you guys see behind me. We also did backfill inspection, so we backfilled the perimeter of the foundation. We put tar on it on the outside, which I know in builder world there's pros and cons with that. But in addition to the tar, we also put plastic over it. So we basically tried to create like a roof system beneath the ground, so like when water runoff comes, it won't penetrate the foundation, which is super important here because it's going to be a finished basement with bedrooms. So we want to make sure it's bone dry at all times. And then the coolest thing is, I didn't 100% realize the basement is huge. So the ceiling height is almost 9 feet in the basement. So it's just got like a luxurious feel to it. It's nice and tall. I love it. I'm 6'4". I feel like I could play basketball down there. So it's really great. I'm really excited about that. So now what we're doing is framing. You guys can obviously follow us on Instagram for that stuff, to keep track of this project and other projects we have going. And then once this baby's framed, we're going to talk to you guys about the framing. I'm loving every step of this project. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, even though I'm not swinging a hammer. I've been running around all day, ordering lumber and returning lumber and like scheduling this delivery and scheduling that. But it's all part of the process of being a builder. So subscribe to this channel. There's going to be a lot of more great content to see about this new build that I'm doing, and I just look forward to bringing you guys along for the ride.